Hello everyone, we should be live and streaming. I am going to double check myself in just a moment. But with the presumption that you can, hello, my name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl. This is a very unusually scheduled weekly Q&A. And it will not be the only weekly Q&A. I intend to do one on Saturday at our normal time as well. However, I wanted to get something up as far as the Q&A goes because I haven't had one for the last few weeks. Yep, okay, good. We are go. We have video and audio. Video as muggy looking as usual with my mug. But yes, given that this is such an unusual time, I'm fully prepared that there won't be very many people here, and that's fine. It's okay, I just wanted to have something up. But for those of you who will be here, please feel free to ask any questions that you like, board game related or not. It is good to be here. And of course, it's the holidays as well, so if you have any questions related to holidays, games you should buy, whatever the case might be, I'll help out the best that I can. Now, I do know that at least one question was eaten by YouTube. This always happens. And actually, a comment was eaten by YouTube as well. Sadly, I can't remember what just the comment was, but the question was something about apocalyptic games. Have there been any good post-apocalyptic games released? And to that I have to say maybe, but I haven't played them because I know that there is one sitting on my shelf now that I never got around to called Wastelanders, though to be honest I haven't sat down to play it, but I looked through the rules, I looked through the components, and I was less than impressed. That was more of an impulse buy. Yeah, whatever. But I know there's also a couple other games I just have no interest in, like Post-Human was one that I know that some people were giving positive reviews to, but it's knowing that company, which I can't remember thinking of their name right now, and knowing the type of games they've put out before, they're usually overlong and not interesting enough. So I don't know that there's been any good post-apocalyptic ones lately, though. Certainly, even though it seems like a very tropey setting in general for media, there haven't been very many good board games, which is probably why that person asked that question. A Fallout game would be amazing if it was actually done right, but it probably wouldn't be. But think about that. I mean, it's built in. It's all baked in. You just have to break apart its constituent parts and make it into a good tabletop game. But the whole aspect with the Pip-Boy and your stats and your, what's the acronym? Smart stats or something like that? Your different attributes. It's like D&D basically. So there was an unofficial Fallout RPG, I think. But to make it into a board game, I don't think it would take that much work. So that one is rife for the plucking. Someone get on that at one of these big companies. In any event, let's get to a few questions or comments that are actually here. If you know anyone else who might be interested in the Q&A, please pass it along. Like I said, for a Wednesday night Wednesday, right? Losing tracks of time. For a Wednesday night at 9 p.m., I doubt that we'll have too many people. So, anyways, excellent job on Top 100. Thank you very much. There's got to be more that you can do with your gift. I've been in the sign industry for 28 or more years. Vinyl and wraps for fleets, signs, A to Z, you name it, I can relate. Well, thank you very much, Edward. And I don't know that I have a gift. I have the gift of gab, as they say. I could speak well enough, although not now. I can speak well enough, and I know how to put my thoughts together into coherent sentences. Perhaps a bit more than a lot of other people I see on YouTube. And I'm not talking about board game reviewers. I'm talking about YouTube in general. People saying, over and over and over again. I work really hard to not do those things. So I think that's my gift, is that when I set out to do something, I can present it very well. And that comes from practicing in sales and talking to customers and things like that too. But I don't know necessarily that I have the best content to match up with that. That would be the real thing to do, but I work on it and we'll see how it goes. But I thank you for the compliment. Obviously I'm really a pain in the ass when it comes to taking compliments, but yeah, regarding working in the sign industry, that's fairly new for me because I've worked in the printing industry for too long, 17 years now, and yeah, literally. But those were in binderies, working on paper products, postcards, business cards, booklets, and things like that, having to work with vinyl and vehicle wraps and that's new to me, and so I didn't know the terminology very well, and that's been sort of a hit the ground running, try to learn as I go type thing. But it is definitely, any printing is stressful. I don't know the official stat. I know a long time ago I read a stat that said that printing was like within the top 5 of the most stressful jobs in the country. I don't know where that's at now, especially since printing has been, downsizing, consolidating. Given that, it's probably more stressful. All right, let's see. Thank you very much for the kind comments, everyone. Really appreciate it. Yes, I actually, after I'm done with this, I'm not going to be filming any videos tonight, but I'm going to be setting up videos that try to get back into the swing of things. So I'm going to lay out Vast, the Crystal Caverns, to get ready to shoot that tomorrow, and also get together all of my notes for the next 2 segments of the Top 100 list. I don't read off of a script, just so you guys know a little bit inside baseball here. Which is ironic because I hate sports, but I don't work off of a script when I read the different entries for the top 100, but I do have to have something to read for all the comments from the Board Game Geek users. I've done that a different way all 3 years now. The first year, I think I had my laptop positioned in such a way that it was just off camera, but just to the side of my camera, so that I enlarged the comments, and so I could read it as I was talking to the camera. So you see me look a little bit to the side and read as it was filming, and I had to keep, every time I finished an entry, I had to run over and re-up a new one. Big pain in the ass, and it looked stupid. Because no one knew what I was reading. I'm like, does he have a blackboard back there? And really, it's just a giant obnoxious mirror. But the second year, I mix and match. The way I wanted to do it was the way I'm doing it this year, which is just copy pasting all the comments into a form and reading it. But then, when I couldn't do that in a timely enough fashion, because I don't actually have a printer here, I would use my tablet. And that looks stupid too. It's like I'm holding a tablet and the light is hitting my face as I'm filming. So this is the best compromise that I have, because I'm not going to memorize these comments. The only other way to do it would be to cut to a black screen with the comment and me do the ADR later. Look at me, like I'm an industry insider. So that's one note that I have to have. And also, there's a lot of others. I have to get all the pictures and all the art assets, so to speak. I have to get the BGG ratings and the BGG ranking and make a note of that. I have to get the publisher and designer, so there's a lot of this stuff, and all of that stuff actually takes, collectively, plus the editing and producing, is hours for each one. So it's been a long, arduous thing, and I can't do it all in one night. In fact, my ideal goal this week was to get those first 2 parts up on Monday, but I was working on it, and at a certain point in the night, it was like 1 a.m., and I'm like, I'm not even done doing my notes. I'm not going to be able to film tonight. So that's why everything got delayed. Or I'm sorry, I got everything filmed, but I'm like, I have to sit here for another 5 hours and produce, and I have to be up for work in 6 hours. So that wasn't going to work. And so that's the kind of work. And I'm not doing that for you guys to feel bad for me, but just to give you an idea of why I can't get things out in the timely fashion I want to. But moving on, I have Legendary in the DC Deck Builder. What are some other good deck builders I should look into? Well, if you like those, those are actually very different, because DC Deck Builder is very simple and straightforward, and Legendary is a lot of setup and cooperative and those types of things. But first off, I would say, for sure, check out Legendary Encounters if you haven't done that yet. Obviously, a lot of people have major issues with Legendary Firefly. The artwork is terrible, but I actually thought the game was fine. The Legendary Encounters Alien is very good. The expansion is pretty cool too. I have to review that soon for Legendary Encounters Alien, and Predator is also very good. So if you haven't tried those yet, maybe you're using Legendary collectively, maybe you have. But in case you haven't, that would be your next step. Avoid Big Trouble in Little China Legendary like the plague. As far as I'm concerned, your mileage might vary. And then Xenoshift is a great, another sort of lateral shift there, because it is very different in some ways, and it's a very odd deck builder because you buy cards, put them into your hand, and You give cards to other players, willingly, that type of thing. But it's very thematic and cooperative, and so it might work. And it's tough, so it might feel like a lateral shift away from Marvel Legendary. And then as far as something similar to the DC deck builder, I actually think Ascension is the closest to that. Ascension was just too, I don't know, I still like DC, but Ascension just seems too swingy and too dependent on luck, whereas, obviously the DC deck builder is dependent on luck too, but I felt like there's so many overpowered cards in that game that anyone could do very well in it, whereas Ascension was a lot more, I don't know, this is a bad taste in my mouth or the longer I played it, but that might be something to consider. Other than that, I don't know. There's a lot of deck builders out there. You just gotta find one that you really like. Depends on what you like it for. Rune Age is an unsung hero because it has different modes and has a cooperative mode and is also thematic. Might be something to consider as well. It's kind of it's not out of print, but no one's really talking about it. And other things, there's other games I might not want to mention because it might be on my top 100 list. Favorite two-player games? Well, that would also be in my top 100 list, but two-player games, I don't have a lot of favorites because it's so hard to get to the table. But I will talk about some that I've already talked about on my top 100 list, which the Queen's Gambit, Star Wars Queen's Gambit, Star Wars Rebellion. Those can be played as four-player games, 2-on-2. But they're really two-player games. I wouldn't bother with that unless you just have to. What was I just about to say? Summoner Wars, I still think is good. It fell drastically on my list, but that's still a good two-player game. I'm falling more and more. I was never in love with Seven Wonders Duel. In fact, if you watch my review of just the base game of Seven Wonders Duel, I was very wishy-washy on it. I liked it overall and thought it was a good and clever design, but I'm just like, it's hard for me to put into words. I ain't got the words. But it's very dependent. Even more luck dependent than you would imagine. Whatever. I'm not going to get into that. But a ton of people love that one, including most of the people I've played it with. And so I could be just way off out of field on that one compared to popular opinion. So if you're looking for a good two-player game, maybe that's one to consider. The expansion, by the way, I think made it worse. I'm not sure if people disagree with me on that one or not because I haven't looked at other people's reviews. Tyrants of the Underdark, someone recommends as a two-player game. Yeah, I would agree with that. Because two-player with Tyrants of the Underdark cuts down on the king making and on the multiple players pounding on one player. Yeah, I would actually agree with that. Are there any RP... wait, I skipped one, I think. Not really. Curious as to Game of the Year ideas. Well, you'll find out when I find out. Because I don't know. Chances are you all will find out the day that I find out. Because I'll probably put the list together right before I film the video. Are there any RPG-style solo games that have replayability? Well, I'm going to have to shill here without really intending to and point at the game that's at the top of the shelf behind me, which is quite in the news right now in the board gaming world, which is Kingdom Death Monster, which has a tremendous amount of replayability. It takes a long time to get through a game session, or a very short time, actually. And even if you do, you didn't see all the settlement events, you didn't choose the different paths and innovations. There's just a ton of replayability without even adding in a single expansion or promo. So I have to say that. Now, obviously, that's in a whole other class of game that is too expensive for some people. So if you want something a little more reasonable that can be played solo and replayability, well, I'll go to another example I said earlier, which was Legendary, because I love playing Legendary solo. Especially if you use the homebrew rules. They call it the golden solo rules. It's whoever made it up on Board Game Geek. Search those. Those are the best way to play it. Not the ones... Even in the rule book, I liked it, but it's better this way. And it depends. Obviously, if you only have the base game of Legendary, it's not that replayable. If you have as many expansions as I have, or half of the expansions I have, it's very replayable because the variety of different cards and how they interact is just going to change dramatically every single time. So that's another idea. It just depends. Unfortunately, a lot of times when you say replayability for certain games, it's going to come down to how many expansions you have. Not the case with Kingdom Death, but you're paying for it. Is the case with Legendary, which is a little more reasonable cost-wise to buy it in the expansions. Another example might be Descent with the app. If you play with the app, you can play it solo or fully cooperatively with other people. And if you have a ton of minis and things that you've bought for it, you can plug them into the app. It's just that there's not a lot of scenarios for it. Let's see. Favorite smallest game? I mean, immediately to mind, Love Letter pops in mind, because I mean, I've got games that are the same, like, rough size, inches wise, but not that many cards. So the depth, 16 cards. I can't think of any that I like that are comparable to it that are as small. So it would have to be that by default. I hate to be known as like the love letter guy, by the way. I just think it's a neat little game, and it's gotten a ton of play in my group, so I talk it up perhaps a bit more than other people do. I think a lot of other reviewers who are into that game are totally over it, and I understand, but I just think it's incredibly clever. It's my no thanks. I have no thanks and I enjoy no thanks, but hold on a sec. Well, whatever. I want to make sure it's on higher up on my list, and I'll be like, a fraud. You hack fraud. It might be. But Love Letter is still the one that I go to ahead of No Thanks, because I'm sure most of you have played No Thanks. Have you ever run into a situation where you have a new person in the group who's a casual game, or a casual who's maybe not even into games at all, and you're like, no thanks, that's an easy game, and they just cannot wrap their head around the concept of what you're doing in that game, that you don't want points and how the bidding works. It's so simple for us, but maybe they're idiots. No, I don't know. I'm just wondering if anyone else ran into that problem, because it seems to happen. There seems to be one in every group that I play it with that are new. What is this? This isn't a question, but I'll read it. Nick, it's good that you are keeping your channel a solo endeavor. That way you get to avoid all that weird fan fiction, like the stuff people write about all the Dice Tower guys. Sean, I don't know if you're joking, but I'm still disturbed. Do you play on... Well, those are images I'll never get out of my head. Do you play on Board Game Arena? No, I used to. I used to play Seasons like it was going to get taken down any day. I would just sit there and play Seasons over and over again. It was implemented very well, and then I played Takenoko quite a bit. The Takenoko is a bit too simple, and playing that over and over again without the really nice pieces of my collector set, it doesn't have the same effect. But Seasons, you can play that over and over again. 2-player games. I sucked at it, apparently. Like, I thought I was good at it in real life, but it turned out I was just because I was more experienced than the other people in my group. Online, playing against people who have played hundreds or thousands of matches, I was just crushed all the time. But yeah, that was a while ago. I haven't played on it since. I know they've added a ton of games. Thank you very much, Charles. Yes, I do like how I can my note. So I have a piece of paper that has the BGG comments for the list, but I have my note cards that actually have the titles and the BGG ranking notes, and I like how I can just throw those like David Letterman. I love your shirt. Thank you very much. I think I got this from T. No, this doesn't feel like a T Fury shirt. This feels like a random buy from one of those other fly-by-night places. Do you know about some other games with strategy like chess? Summoner Wars. That's a callback to one of the BGG comments. It says, no, it's not chess. You hated the game, too. That I like chess? You know, I never played it, and it got kind of middling reviews, but... There was a company that did a game. What company was it? I can't remember. One of those companies that was born and raised on Kickstarter. They did a game called Loca. I know the name of the game. That was like fantasy chess in a way. Like a redone version of chess. Check that out. If that's what you really want, then you might like it. I know a lot of people did, but a lot of people didn't. But strategy like chess. Now, what you mean by that, you may not mean exactly like chess. You might mean like no luck, deterministic movement, pure I'm outthinking my opponent, like chess or Go. There's a game. Is it Madagascar? I think it might be from Madagascar. It's called Barony. Look at that one. That one couldn't hold my interest because I think I needed some amount of randomness in it. I needed something to be exciting in that game because it was just very deterministic. I put my piece out here, and it's like territory control. You're making buildings. A heavy Euro gamer I played it with loved it, and I may have just lost the feed. Hold on. If you guys can still see me and hear me. Okay, cool. My screen froze, and that was a little bit scary. But apparently, everything is okay. Anyways, yeah, look into that one. That might be a good idea. Why did you buy this product? It clearly didn't want to be purchased. Look, I'm not into boxes telling me what to do. I do what I want. Whatever, I do what I want. Nick, since you love co-op Dwick builders, you might look at Eon's End. I'm loving that thing. I have it on my piles somewhere. It's near the top of my list of things to do, which doesn't mean much nowadays. But I will get to it eventually. Look, it keeps freezing. Are you guys getting that too? I apologize. I don't know what's going on. Nick, happy holidays. Happy holidays to you, Jacob. I started watching Gurren Lagann on your recommendation, and it is flipping awesome. Thank you. Can't wait to watch your Top 100 series. Well, Jacob, it's like I always say, don't believe in me, believe in you. And actually, don't believe in you, believe in the you that believes in you. That is a Gurren Lagann reference. Boy, I should rewatch that. I'm scared to rewatch it. Oh no, I just migrated away from the comments page. Hold on, peoples. It's okay. I clicked on someone's name in their anime avatar. Where were we? There we go. Yes, also you can check out my top 10 deck buildings as deck builders videos, as Matthew says. Just watch the newest one. Consider the newest box on your shelf. Are you addicted to big black boxes? Well, you know what they say. Once you go black, you continue to buy games at a regular pace. It is interesting. So I actually checked. You didn't even see this. See? Oh, look, it froze again. Let me know if this is happening to you guys because it's a little annoying. You guys don't seem to be freaking out about it. Maybe I'm the only one that's getting that. Okay, I'll keep talking then. But what you don't see on the shelf, actually, is another one. I have this one, which I bought at the same time. This is like the actual new, bigger, blacker box. They redid it to make it not obnoxiously as long. It's actually more normal board game sized, but it actually holds more cards because it has like 3 concurrent rows. So they made it wider instead of longer. That's what the ladies like. But anyways, what's interesting is that just like with the original, there's a box in the top, or a card in the top that I ripped out, spoiler alert, which was the same as it was before, the biggest, blackest dick. And then the card, I'm just making sure that you guys can actually see me, because if the video truly screwed up, then that's a problem. No, okay, apparently it's okay. But although my screen is frozen. Why is that? Oh, there you go. Oh, if you knew how stupid that was all me being dumb. Where is that card? Sometimes I just like to do this to get the people who hate Cards Against Humanity upset with me. Like the, one of those guys' names. I don't even remember what's their name? Shut Up and Sit Down, that's right. Boy, they were apoplectic. Their scathing expose of Cards Against Humanity that no one really cares about now. Where is it? It's. I swear it's actually not that interesting. Where is it? Oh, I might give up. I guess I mix it in. I'm going to give it 2 more seconds because this has got to be incredibly boring for you guys. Maybe not 2 seconds. No. Okay, I can't find it. Anyways, there were 2 other things in this box. One of them was another card hidden in the bottom of the box that you had to tear out. I'm going to screw up the joke, but it was something like... So this is the running joke of the game, right? You had a big black dick, a bigger, blacker dick, the biggest, blackest dick, right? The one hidden in the bottom of this box was... God, I'm going to butcher the joke. It was something like a dick so large it enforces uncomfortable ethnic stereotypes. Something to that effect. And then, even more interesting, and where is this? I wish I had it to show you. Every one of these boxes had a procedurally generated card inside a little brown envelope. A different card for every single box. It's just some random gobbledygook nonsense, but everyone had a different card, and you have the only copy of that card that exists. And I think that's interesting. See, that's the thing. Cards Against Humanity as a game is okay. I love all of the things, lifestyle game almost, getting involved with their antics, and I just love it. It's like it becomes a scavenger hunt. But anyways, my procedurally generated card was just some nonsense. It said like Republicans with chocolate covered dongs, but I liked that it had Republicans on it, so I'm very happy with my procedurally generated card. Let's see. Look at my ugly arm when it goes up to the camera. My God. How would you compare Warhammer Silver Tower to Kingdom Death? Warhammer Quest Silver Tower to Kingdom Death? Do you prefer Kingdom Death Above and Beyond, or is it a close call? Trying to get me into saying stuff about my top 100. I mean, I can't even necessarily tell you whether or not Silver Tower is even on my top 100. But even whether it is or not, yeah, of course, I love Kingdom Death. It's amazing. You watched my Facebook feed earlier in the month and the end of last month. It was nothing but Kingdom Death posts. I like Warhammer Quest Silver Tower a lot. It's nowhere near Kingdom Death Monster, because Warhammer Quest Silver Tower, despite the fact that you have different branching... Well, it's not even that, though. You just have, like, random story rooms you can go into, and not that many of them, by the way. And I like how the character combat is, and filling up that little wheel and that kind of stuff. It's been a while since I played it. And I like it a lot. But Kingdom Death Monster is just... It's not fair. It's not fair to judge other games up against it, given how much time, effort, love, and care went into that game, and how much money it costs as well. Because even though Warhammer Quest Silver Tower was obnoxiously expensive, it ain't got nothing on a first Kickstarter version of Kingdom Death Monster. So it's not fair to compare them. So I'd have to say Kingdom Death Monster, but I also know that some people would be more than happy just taking Warhammer Quest Silver Tower, because it is a good game. You late, starting at negative 14 minutes. I'm not. Who are you talking to? I was on time today. You're late. Maybe you were late, Steve. If that is your real name. I was actually right on time. I clicked the button as it rolled into the less than 1 second left mark. Mars games. They could be so much more immersive. What's up? Explore, expand, build modules, utilize tiles, use workers, accidents. Seen Mars 2016 on, and it's just not a theme I'm into. And again, yeah, like what I think you're saying, Edward. If you're gonna do it, fucking go out, man. I want aliens. I want little green dudes with ray guns popping out and blowing my crewmates' heads off. And yeah, they don't really do that. Now there is Mars Attacks, but that's a miniatures war game. Not even with the trappings. It doesn't even look like it's got the trappings of a board game around it. It's a miniatures game, and I am not really into that. It's just I don't. It's a lifestyle game I don't want to play. And again, I don't like Mars in general as a theme. It's just if you're going to do it, does every one of them have to be a dry Euro? I guess so. Nick, which do you prefer? I've never seen that show, by the way. I don't even know what you're talking about. Nick, which do you prefer more? Love Letter or Lost Legacy? I'll spoil that at least. Love Letter. You will not see Lost Legacy further up on my list. And I think I've bounced back and forth between these in the past. Because objectively speaking, you should say, well, Lost Legacy is Love Letter with more, with a deductive element on the end and variable gameplay when you mix different cards from different decks together. And yet, for the same reason why I think it's problematic in the Love Letter Premium Edition for mixing in all those cards, that's not the point of the game. Love Letter is supposed to be very simple and straightforward. Leave a small footprint, like it, why I have it, so that when I just need to kill time, or when I've got someone new to the group and I just need to break the ice with them, that is a fantastic game, in my opinion, for that. Lost Legacy adds just a little bit too much, to the point where it's difficult to explain it to brand new people who aren't familiar with games. It's fine. It's super easy. And it just didn't work for me. I've had Lost Legacy Legend, or whatever it is, Japanese only, like 10 different decks. Let's see, where was I? I was in the middle of your top 100 and saw you were doing a Q&A. I missed our Saturday morning. No, it's fine. I'll be back. In fact, I'll schedule one for Saturday. I'll probably schedule it tomorrow. By the way, I thought... I'm sorry, what? I bought into the hype and am now a shill for the Arkham Horror LCG. It's outstanding. Do it. Well, I already have it. It's sitting over on my table laid out because I was playing it. So, what do I think about it? Let's wait and see. Hey Nick, great work. Thank you. Question: what is your take on Legendary getting the rights to Dune? Would you like to see a TV series or movie franchise? When I first read that line, I thought he meant Legendary the card game. No, Legendary Pictures has the rights to Dune. Now, I will out myself as someone who should probably have his geek cred docked a few points at least, in that I have not read the Dune books, which I've heard is the best way to consume Dune, and Doom. Can you imagine how bad a Doom book would be? I have not seen... Well, okay. I'm sure that I saw the original Dune movie that is a cult classic, but for all the wrong reasons. I think most people think it's a really bad movie, an adaptation. I'm sure that I have seen it as a child, because my mom was a pop culture, science fiction, fantasy junkie who would sit there with me, and I would sit through movies that were completely inappropriate for me at that age. But I don't have good memories of it, so I can't really say that I've watched it. And I never watched the miniseries that Sci-Fi did, 10 years ago, something like that. So I don't know much about Dune. I know it's on another planet where humans went to, and there's spice. I heard. I don't know if this is true, but I heard that the spice is expected to flow. I don't know. And there's giant worms. That's all I know. So with that information, I don't really care. It means nothing to me. That's why I was willing to play Rex, although I never did. And even though I had other people in my group who were like, I'm not playing Rex. That game is supposed to be Dune. They couldn't get the rights. It's a poor man's Dune. And I'm like, who cares? It looks better to me. There's a cat person here. So I don't really care that much. But I had two different exes who loved Dune, by the way. So I always felt like I was maybe I should read it just to have some basis to discuss more things with them. But then those relationships went south anyways, and it didn't matter anymore. So I don't know. But hey, listen, for those of you who love Dune, I hope that this does mean that you'll get a good adaptation of it, and I'll watch it too. Onitama, the Duke, and the Jarl are chess-like in my mind. The Duke and the Jarl being the same game with different themes, I think, right? I think so. But yes, I haven't played the Duke or Jarl. I know that Onitama is chess-like because it's very deterministic. And you move pieces around like chess where you're trying to conquer your opponent's territory or area, but you use it with cards, and you can... The cards that you use, you put it on the table, then your opponent can pick it up. It's a very interesting game. So yeah, that's a good idea. Your beard is getting so beautiful. Oh, thank you. Actually, it was so long at one point that it had like tufts. Like you could grab it and pull it. And then I finally got both a haircut and a beard trim at the same time last week, and made it more manageable, and actually looked really good. And I dyed it. I dyed it because there was too much gray, which I always do. That's not like a new thing, but I did it this time and I had regrets. I might just let it go, especially since a couple of people I'm interested in have said the gray, they like the gray. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. Are you doing any online board game gift exchanges? And also, I missed you. Oh, well, thank you very much, Elizabeth. I do appreciate the sentiment. I missed all of you very much as well. I forget. It's not easy to forget, but I do forget how much I love the Q&As. But I am not doing any online board game gift exchanges. I have done that in the past. I did the Board Game Geek gift exchange 2 years in a row. And it was a rewarding experience. I had a good time doing it. It was fun making little messages as Santa and sending it to my targets, so to speak. And 1 year it was still fun, but it was kind of a pain in the ass because I said, oh, fine, I'll do the international shipping one, and ended up having to send it to someone in Russia who didn't get the package for 3.5 months. Yeah, but that wasn't the reason I stopped. I just don't have the time. If you do something like that, I think you should commit to it to have as much fun as possible. And I'm clearly in a position where I can't do that. I have to tend to the channel, and with what time I have left over after work, and so that was kind of my thing. And some friends of mine were trying to get me to do the Reddit gifts thing, which sounds very interesting, but again, and I don't like Reddit, but I'm getting more into Reddit. I still don't like Reddit, but I've been going to the Marvel Future Fight board all the time, and that's actually an example of how Reddit can be done right. So it's giving me hope for the social media service, but I don't know. But yeah, I know a lot of people love those online gift exchanges. I just don't have the time for them. For the Crown in Kamisato Max is also just like, yeah, I have For the Crown. I never played it. Who do you think is Rey's parents? I don't know. I'm sure they'll make it into some twist, and it'll probably be at the end of the second movie, right? Because for better or for worse, The Force Awakens was just a collection of nostalgic look backs at the original Star Wars, and so for The Empire Strikes Back, the second movie, they will probably do, of the new trilogy, they'll probably do a reveal similar to, spoiler alert, just in case you don't know, Darth Vader is Luke's father. So they'll probably do something similar to that, and that's fine. That'll be kind of cool. I don't know who it will be, though. It seems a little bit too obvious for it to be Luke at this point, but it's probably someone. It's someone from the past. It makes sense, right? I don't know. It's interesting. Let's see. Do you prefer Arcadia Quest or Super Dungeon Explorer? I prefer Arcadia Quest. Arcadia Quest is a tighter, shorter game, even though it's competitive. I like doing the fully cooperative mode of Super Dungeon Explorer. But Super Dungeon Explorer is too long and too finicky. I'm really hoping the new rule set changes all that. I will rant for a moment here and say that I was a backer of the Super Dungeon Explorer Legends, which was a weird Kickstarter in and of itself, because it was a mixture of Super Dungeon Explorer Legends, like a new set of stuff for the game, plus a redo of the original edition of the game with even like new miniatures. So it was a weird Kickstarter to begin with. You would think those would be separate, if at all. And on top of that, it's been like almost 2 years now at this point, I think, since that Kickstarter ran, and they are playtesting the game. And I had this out with someone before, because someone was like, Nick, I like that they're doing this, they're involving the community, but it almost feels like they had nothing planned for this, or they had something planned for it and scrapped it all. And for the last 2 years, we've been watching them doing playtesting in real time, and it's kind of weird and off-putting. And I wish, again, if the game gets changed because of feedback from the audience, or from the audience, that's great and interesting and fine. If we are now actively helping them make a game that we thought, at least rules-wise, was done before, that's kind of weird. But to your question, I like Arcadia Quest better. Have you ever played the Coin series? Thoughts? If you haven't, they're great solo games. Now, I don't know all about this, but from what I understand, the Coin series is a series of war games, correct? That are supposed to be more accessible to traditional board gamers. They're not like big, sprawling, advanced squad leader type games. I have not played any of them. I've heard very good things about them. Isn't what's the one that got a ton of buzz? Is it A Distant Plane? There's A Distant Plane, Fire in the Lake, something like that. I hear tell they're very good. It's not my style of game, but people I highly respect, like Joel Eady from Drive Thru Review, like them. So that definitely counts for something. Thoughts on Donald Trump's lies about the Russian election interference and how all the CIA agencies agree that Russia interfered in the election. I think it's incredibly depressing and almost too depressing to think about. Like, I've actually been pretty blasé about it because, and I hate to be that way, I shouldn't be, but I have enough to worry about in my life, and my life is just going to be the same no matter what. Not that it's going to be good, but it'll be the same. And so I kind of put it out of my mind, right, lest I become overwhelmed with emotion. With the ever-present knowledge that a lot of people who are friends of mine and people that I care about will be very hurt, potentially, by his administration, including women. And it's scary, but again, it's really tough for me to even think about it. But then, the last couple of days, it really started to hit me more. Donald Trump. Like a buffoon who we already knew was a vile person years ago for what he did to President Obama, who was always just this lecherous rich boy. Like, it really hit me when I thought about it, and it's just incredibly depressing. And I really don't want to think about it. That's how depressing it is. It's almost overwhelming. And I shared something on Facebook today, because I haven't been sharing much on Facebook, but I shared something. I can't pronounce the gentleman's name properly, and I feel bad about that, but it's Ta-Nehisi Coates. He is I know him best now because he's the current author of Black Panther for Marvel, of the comic book, I mean. And he was on The Daily Show, and so there's been a meme of one of his quotes from that show floating around where it's like, he says, the definition of racism basically is if I have to jump up 6 feet to get to something, but you only have to jump up 2 feet to get to the same thing. And then he went on to say, President Obama, from when he was still in the primaries, including by his primary opponent, and then the Republicans, was criticized and mocked, and everyone doubted him and said, including Trump, who was like, well, I need to see your birth certificate. I don't believe you were actually born here. Oh, really? You were born here because you got your birth certificate? Well, I don't believe you actually went to Harvard Law School. How could you have gone to Harvard Law School? So he had to always be incredibly smart. He had to, in the quote, he says he had to go to Harvard, be on I forget the name of it, like the Harvard Law Review. So he had to be scholarly and kind and compassionate. He could never let his facade slip. He always had to be in control and not be emotional and all these different things because he had to like, as Ta-Nehisi Coates put it, like straddle the line between these two different worlds and not even be himself anymore because he had to keep up his appearance in order to keep this the white population of the country, some of them who don't even know, who are just so used to looking down on black people and treating them in a different way. He had to do all of these different things in order to keep the country together and go above and beyond the call of duty just because of the color of his skin. And just to be president is what he had to do. And the only two things that Donald Trump had to do was be rich and white. And when I read that quote, it really sunk in. Like, it's just really bad. I don't go into the reactionary stuff. I think that a lot of people on our side have been very over the top and hyperbolic in the last month. But it is it is a bit much for me sometimes to think about. And I'm just a white guy, so I can only imagine how bad it is for other people thinking about it. And that's our step into politics, although I'm sure there'll be more. Yes, I am alive. Thank you, Patricio. Best Final Fantasy game. Best game with the name Final Fantasy attached is Final Fantasy Tactics, the first one, or the redone version. Not even a question for me. I put hundreds of hours into Final Fantasy Tactics. It's also got a fantastic story, an addictive job system, so much to do and to find and to grind away. The reasons I love Marvel Future Fight are the reasons I loved Final Fantasy Tactics, which is that great characters with the addictive grind in min-maxing your characters. It was so good. Now, as far as the proper Final Fantasy numbered entries, that's more complicated for me. I almost have to say Final Fantasy, what was 2 over here at the time on SNES, but I think was 5, either 4 or 5 in Japan. But it's the one with the main character is Cecil, the Dark Knight who becomes a paladin. Kain, Rosa, Rydia, they have to fight Golbez / Darth Vader, and so on, and then take out the Emperor. And the reason I have to say that is, it's a good game no matter what, but I put so much time into that game. I used to rent that game weekend after weekend. You'd rent it from the video store. Other assholes would wipe out your save for no reason, and then I would start over again and beat it, and then I'd be like, cool. And then beat it again. Like, oh, all right, what if I did it this way this time? And beat it again. And I loved that game. So for sentimental reason, I have to say that. But objectively, Final Fantasy VI, which was 3 over here, is a better version of that game with tons more characters and stuff to do. But my sentiment goes with that one. But Final Fantasy VI would be a close second. Final Fantasy X, despite some really weak-ass lame characters, as a game was really good. I liked Final Fantasy XII a lot. I think that game really got lost and forgotten because it was at the end of the PlayStation 2's life cycle. People were looking forward to the next generation of consoles, and I don't think it blew anyone else away. It also was like, you think Star Wars The Force Awakens was a close approximation of the original Star Wars? Final Fantasy XII was Star Wars medieval times style as far as the story goes. I could go on and on. But I loved that. I loved the way the combat system works, the gambit system, where you just set up these auto things and your characters went, and you could set them up with like this intricate system of like, well, if this happens, then do this. But if this happens instead. I loved it. Ones that I hated. Final Fantasy 13, I got through it and got every achievement and regret that I wasted my time with that game, especially with the achievements. That game's story was awful, to say the least, and I do like the combat system, but it wasn't enough. That game should be forgotten. I really, at the time, did not like Final Fantasy 8 or 9, and it's actually only recently that I thought I was in the majority with that. I thought most people didn't like Final Fantasy 8 and 9 compared to the other entries in the series. Now, apparently, there's a ton of people who think that Final Fantasy 9 is like the end-all, be-all. Like, that is the benchmark of the post-SNES generation of Final Fantasies. And I'm like, am I being punked? I thought that was one of the weakest entries, and along with Final Fantasy 8. But people hold those up as sacrosanct at this point. I don't know. But for me, it's 5, 6, 10, 12. Those are how I choose to remember the series. Now, I am interested in what the new one's like. I'm getting... it's weird because tons of positive critic reviews, lots, and a few... quite a few good user reviews, tons of bad user reviews, and I don't know what that's about. Is there any worker placement game that works well with 5 to 6 players? Ooh, well, Lords of Waterdeep isn't unbearable with that many players, but I typically wouldn't do any Euro game with that many players. I'm going to throw that one to the rest of the audience. Nick, isn't it ironic that you don't have a printer given your beloved job? Well, that's the thing. When I want something printed out, I go to my job, they let me do it with nary a question asked. They've actually printed out banner stuff for me before. But here at home, maybe that's why. If I had no free access to a printer and had to like go to Kinko's or Kinko's hasn't existed in years. It's now FedEx Office. If I had to go to FedEx Office all the time, I'd probably have a printer. But you know what? I had a printer and it broke. I mean, that's what happens. Printers are the cheapest pieces of garbage. It's amazing that every other bit of technology we have can last for years and years. Not every bit of it. But like my laptop has lasted for years. It can last for years more. And it's even more intricate than a printer itself. But a printer, they're prone to breaking. I hate it. What do you think about Man vs. Meeple? I like how non-scripted their overviews are. Why are you still doing overviews? I don't know. I probably shouldn't. But you know why I still do overviews? Because I don't do them, and then people freak out. And maybe it's, but they might be the vocal minority. Maybe I should stop listening to them. I don't know. Any thoughts on Mythic Battles? Mythic Battles Pantheon. I'll take your word that that's what it actually is. My thought is I am fatigued with heavy miniatures games that aren't named, that don't have the words Kingdom, Monster, and Death in them. And I got Conan and I've just been... it's exhausting thinking about setting that game up and learning it and playing it, so it's just been sitting there. And I regret backing it, which might be a fine game, but I just regret it. I'm done. Like, I have enough of those games. And I saw Mythic Battles Pantheon, I'm like, that's a lot of plastic, and and also I don't like the theme. I'm not into like mythic pantheons and stuff like that. Speaking of the devil, would you sell your Conan King pledge to me? I'll get back to you on that. You know what you should do, since people are my Patreon is really suffering, and I don't blame people because I haven't been putting out that much content, but I would still very much appreciate the help, Lightbearer, if you would like to, and if you're not already, if you back me on Kickstarter. The one thing I have on Patreon, the one thing I have been able to do regularly is put out my sell sheet to the people who pledge at $10 or more every month, which is where you get to buy some of my overstock games, which you might see Conan there sooner rather than later, at a very good price. I'll undercut whatever people on eBay are charging. I swear. Any game backed on Kickstarter? Right now I am backing Kingdom Death Monster, the upgrade, of course. I don't know to what degree I'm going to back it. For right now, I'm probably just going to do the upgrade pack with the Gambler's box and call it a day. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And I'm also backing the upgrade to Vast the Crystal Caverns, which will have, it's an upgrade, plus I want to get the new characters that they're going to introduce. I'm going to do my review soon, very soon, hopefully within the next few days. But one of the things I'm most excited about with the Vast upgrade, now that I finally got a chance to sit and look at it, is the new rulebook, which is a bad sign, but it's a good game. You should still get it if you're interested. Still playing Joking Hazard? Yeah, I've been really annoying my group with like, let's play Joking Hazard, and they're like, I'm sick of that. But no, I want to play it again. It's such a good game. Thank you very much, Neutral, who couldn't stick around, but I appreciate your kind words, and I hope that you have a great holiday and come back for the next one. Sean says, so, Rex Tillerson. It's just piling on, man. My boss, who is more center-left, said to me that even he's been amazed, and he's the kind of Democrat who made fun of Bernie and his followers, including myself. And he was like, "Wow, they are not only are they not putting conservatives in the cabinet, they're putting the most far right, stereotypical conservatives, almost designed to anger the left in the country of any shade." It's pretty amazing, and by that I mean horrifying. Yes, it is Kingdom Death behind me. Nick, can you compare the Kingdom Death Monster Dragon to a Warhammer miniature to show scale? That is in an inaccessible place right now, up in the closet behind a ton of stuff. I don't want to drag down the Q&A right now, but I also don't have a Warhammer miniature, so it's a moot point anyways. I have a Warhammer Silver Tower miniature. I have the Phoenix right there behind the camera, but it's not really comparable to the Dragon. The Dragon's a lot taller. It's pretty big. Let me see if I have a big enough miniature for scale. Hold on. Okay, so here's the little dwarven dude from Silver Tower. Yes, they're unpainted. And here's one of my Phoenixes, and here's the other one. So the king, the Dragon King, is maybe that's a little bit too big. Forget the wingspan. The Dragon King's about yay big. So the Dragon King's pretty big. That's about comparable. If you guys, can you even see that? Okay, my feed stopped, so I have to look at this feed. Oh, you guys can't really see. There you go. Sorry. So yeah, the Dragon King is maybe a little bit smaller than this, and there's a Warhammer miniature from Silver Tower. So yeah, and there's the Dragon King humanoid form, which is about comparable in size to that too. So yes, in the painted form with stunning clarity, although not on my camera, you can see the Phoenix's. Oh, I just broke something. Whatever. The Phoenix's hands coming out of his rectum. Which even I didn't notice at first until it was painted. And now I wish I hadn't seen it. Come on, Nick, how can you forget Sting in a diaper? Original Dune is my guilty pleasure. Well, when you put it like that, no, I'm still not going to watch it. But especially if they make a better one. No one will ever watch the old one again. Except maybe How Did This Get Made? We'll watch the original Dune. Let's see, what's on my old movie docket? I'm probably going to watch Die Hard because that's a tradition. I'm going to watch Gremlins for the first time since I was little, I think. I don't think I've watched Gremlins since that movie came out. Hold on. When did... Oh, now I got to look this up. You're going to make me do this, aren't you, Nick? Not you guys. Don't make me do this, Nick. 1984? Yeah! I wouldn't be surprised if my mom dragged me to the theater when I was 3 years old to watch that. That's exactly the kind of thing she would do. But I know I watched it before at the age of 10. And so I probably haven't seen it since then, so it's been at least 25 years. And I'm going to watch it again, not only because I'm nostalgic for it and it's a good Christmas movie, but the folks from Red Letter Media did a commentary track, so I can't wait. I'm also probably going to watch their commentary track for Masters of the Universe together with it. That's a Christmas movie. That's a piece of crap. But man, did I love Masters of the Universe when I was little. Oh my god, I would have consumed anything He-Man. And I mean anything. Let's see. Another political question. You guys are trying to get me fired, and I can't be fired. In your opinion, was Trump's win more of people wanting a change, or more that Hillary was just a lousy choice? I think if anyone else ran against Trump, they would have won. I want to see... It's interesting. What I want to say here, definitively, is Hillary was just a bad choice. It wasn't Hillary, Bernie would have won, blah, blah, blah. But it's just that I am so dispirited by what I'm seeing. I'm so dispirited that, like, apparently at least half this country, I mean, not half, probably a third of this country, just doesn't care about the other 2/3. Just is like, head in the sand, our guy won, we don't care about anything else that goes on, push to our agenda, fuck the rest of you. That is so dispiriting, and it's even more dispiriting that the other 2/3, probably only another third that voted, cared, and was trying to stop it, and then that other third of people was just like, That's probably the most depressing thing to me. And so to your question, I don't know. I just think that so many people have checked out and don't care. And yeah, I am angry with those people. I know that people like the Young Turks are like, how dare you get angry with those who voted for a third-party candidate or voted or didn't vote at all, given their poor choices. And I'm just like, but look what happened. Look what happened. Look what's going to happen. Everything has been not only what people predicted would happen if Trump came to pass, but worse. So I can't even sleep at night, and I did what I feel is the right thing. I can sleep at night, but metaphorically speaking. But but that's the thing. You would think that those people now feel like, oh shit, I should have voted, or I shouldn't have voted for Jill Stein. Not that it mattered. It didn't really matter. But the problem is, a lot of those people are like, see, we told you. See? And it's just going to be such a rough 4 years. I'm sure there's some Trump supporters watching, or who will watch this in the future, and will be feeling very smug about it. And good for you. I did not back Mythic Battles Pantheon. I keep... yeah. Thank you, Charles, for shilling for me. I do appreciate it. I can rarely get a 5-person group together. Is vast worth having if you play with less than 5? Yes, and it's actually... it's for the... this is why it's so tough to review this game. For the experience of it, it's worth having 5, but it's fine with 4. Less than that is when I think there's a problem. So going to review David Bowie Crotch anytime soon? That would be the Labyrinth game. Yes, I'll get to that. Nick, I really feel if you devote yourself to a pop culture subculture channel, you would be successful like Angry Joe, Boogie, 2988, and others. You have the articulation and wit to do it. Well, thank you, Lord J. I do appreciate that, and trust me, I wish that I could. But the thing is, I do. There's a few things I feel here. One is that I don't want to give this up, and so I can't really do them both at the same time and have a full-time job and all this other stuff, right? The other thing is, but I mean, maybe you're suggesting that I should just devote myself entirely to that. But even given that, like, I like anime. Let's use anime as an example. You don't necessarily mean just that, but I'm going to use it as an example. So let's say I wanted to do an anime-based channel. Even as much as I like anime, I don't think I like it as much as the people who are on YouTube doing it and who do it. Like Anime America, I'm subscribed to, who are so up to date with their information and know deep facts and names in the industry and can pick apart a series because, like, they not only watch the One Piece anime, they read the manga and the notes and watch the movies and compare it, and they come up with fan theories. That feels overwhelming to me. I think the only thing I can do is reviews of whatever it is, and there's so many people that do that. And my budget for my equipment is so bad that I just don't know. Then I see people who just put, like, no budget for camera whatsoever and just show still images from anime. And I'm like, well, I could do that. But, again, it's hard for me to take a compliment. And your compliment is taken in the spirit it's meant, which is thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But who knows what the future might bring. If this doesn't pan out, what's obviously, if this is it panning out. This is what the channel will be. I don't think I'm going to get much bigger than this, unfortunately, but it's a crowded market. I don't have the budget for equipment. There's other channels like, as previously mentioned, Man vs. Meeple, who was already doing videos years ago and just decided to come back. But he'll probably continue to rise and rise and rise because he has huge production values, has guest stars and things like that. I'm not going to do that. So this is the channel, and I enjoy doing it, but I don't know. I don't think that I'm ready or even necessarily willing to branch out into whole other channels. Though the people who have done that, I admire their tenacity. Nick, did you get a review copy of Orcs Must Die? No, I have very little interest in that. I didn't get my own copy either. Nick, on your last Q&A, you said that the box with the tongue was Carcassonne. I have now bought 3 different editions of the game, and I still haven't received the one with that box. What gives, man? Look, I didn't say that you could commercially buy that version of Carcassonne. That version of Carcassonne with the mouth on the box is the limited edition. Now, you can get it, but it's going to be very expensive. You have to contact the manufacturer directly and say, I want the special Carcassonne Mimic Edition. And if you say that, then they'll say, okay, well, here's what we have. We have the special edition, we have the deluxe special edition, and then we have just the basic game. I wouldn't recommend getting the basic game. And you could get the special edition, but that doesn't even have everything. The rulebook for the special edition of the Mimic Box edition of Carcassonne is terrible. What you really want to get is the deluxe special edition. It's going to set you back. We're talking Kingdom Death money. It's probably a few $100 at this point. I got it when it was only $50. But that's what you got to do when you want a rare out-of-print game. But it is worth it. Like, as much as I love Carcassonne, and I've talked on this channel for years how much I love putting down tiles and putting meeples on them. As much as I love that, the Mimic Edition of Carcassonne is like, it's like night and day. It's like board games have finally been invented when you play that version. That's how amazing it is. So if you don't get that version, you're missing out. You are missing out on like what I consider to be the true version of Carcassonne. If you need any other help, I'm sure someone in the comments will help you. If they don't, I'll see what I can do. But you got to get that version for sure. Are you going to see Rogue One? Yes, I already have my ticket bought. I'm a little bit perturbed by the reviews, which I think the last time I checked on Metacritic, it was in the 60s. But I'm willing to accept that it might just be a fun action movie and not that deep, much deeper than that. I always go back to the point that the first Avengers movie was from 2011. I think before I went to go see it, its Metacritic rating was a 65 to 69 or something like that, which is not great. But I love that movie. It's fun. It's not Shakespeare, but I really enjoyed it for what it was, and so I'm ready. And Doctor Strange was only in the low 70s too, and I really love Doctor Strange. Reliving Robotech on Netflix. One day I'm going to watch. I actually own the box DVD set of the original Macross, which was one of the constituent shows of Robotech. Any YouTube film reviewers that you enjoy? Red Letter Media. I'm addicted to their videos. I finally caught up on all their videos because I was very far behind. And I just sat there and binge watched them as I was working on like my top 100 list, for example. Movie Bob, I've watched a few of his videos and they're good. My friend Ian loves them way more than I do, but he's good. I do not like the Nostalgia Critic. I'm sorry. I don't want to like particularly call out someone as bad. And obviously the guy's got a humongous popularity, so what do I know? I find him unbearable. He's so unbearably annoying. And that's one of those things that I said to myself, I'm old. Like, because clearly he's got an audience. And I would bet, I haven't looked at the stats, I'm sure I could find them. I would bet the vast majority of his audience is 25 and younger. And I'm like, this is what it feels like to not get it. Same thing with PewDiePie. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I get it. If I broke it down into its constituent elements, I understand why a certain segment of population likes PewDiePie and the Nostalgia Critic. But I don't get it. And those are the types of things that make me feel old. But Red Letter Media, since they are also jaded assholes in the same age bracket as me, I totally understand. I watched Gremlins with my kids recently and it was a lot more violent than I remembered. Yes! That's the thing about Gremlins. It's really not a kids movie. I think it was intended to be a horror movie. It's just that now you look back on it and it's like, oh, puppets. It's like a silly horror movie. But really, man, I have very vivid memories of being scared at that movie, but also really wanting to see it and buying like picture books with it after the fact. But kids love to be scared. But violence is a whole different thing. You can have being scared without being gratuitously violent. And I don't think Gremlins, from my memory, was gratuitously violent. But one thing is that you don't want kids to see animals in pain. And Gizmo, when he was in danger, it's really scary. Is there such a thing as a good worker placement game for 5 to 6 players under 2 hours? I don't know. Viticulture with everything, doesn't that go up to 6? That one I would think would be more viable, but I think even Jamie Stegmaier said don't do it. Euphoria might be what I'm thinking of. Euphoria can go up to 6. I think, gosh, it's been a while. Well, I never played Euphoria with that many players. I always ever played it with 4. But those games seem like they would, if any, would work. If any could, those would work. I'm going a little bit over time, obviously, just because. Have you ever watched Record of Lodoss War? Yes, that was one of my favorite anime growing up. It's still one of my favorite classic anime. I loved it. I watched it when Sci-Fi Channel used to be Sci-Fi Channel, not whatever it is now. Way back in the day when they had anime every Saturday morning. Mostly bad anime, by the way. And then they had the Festival of Anime every year, which was mostly bad anime, by the way. But occasionally they had gems like Record of Lodoss War, Tenchi Muyo. And I loved Record of Lodoss War because, the lore goes, it's based off of a series of novels, and the Japanese author played D&D. He directly based it off of his D&D campaign. And so it feels like high fantasy. It is like not over-the-top anime fantasy, although it's anime. But it's elves and wizards and more traditional fantasy fare, and it was great. They came out with a sequel called Chronicles of the Heroic Knight, which is supposed to be a continuation. It's okay. But the original OVA had a lot of charm. I wish they'd redo it. Now, I did see that they redid, I saw it on Crunchyroll, and I was shocked. The Heroic Legend of Arslan, which it's either Arslan, or I think the original translation had it as Arslan, and now it's just Arslan, but whatever. Which is another fantasy, not quite in the same vein, but similar series that I really liked. That was more serious, not over the top. And then I liked the Slayers. And the Slayers is just goofy nonsense, which is also fantasy. But I even had the Slayers RPG. It was a supplemental book for an anime role-playing game from I had about 15 years ago called Big Eyes, Small Mouth. And it was a supplemental book that lets you use D&D rules to play as the Slayers. And it was great fun. And yes, they even had rules if you were a female spellcaster, when it was your time of the month, your spells didn't work. Which was a joke, not much of one, but a funny one from Slayers. I'm sure Tom Vassell is happy about the Trump ascension. I don't know that. I know some people made jokes about that, and I know that his whole family and his gaming group, and most of his gaming group, or his close companions, are all very Christian and very white. But, for the most part, I don't know what his politics are, and he's been very careful to not do that, because he, unlike myself, is completely unwilling to share it, and I haven't watched his videos in a year or so I wouldn't know anyways, if he had slipped any of that information. For all I know, he's a Democrat, but it's just very Christian at the same time. There's also, let it be known, of course, even though people are tending to generalize more than usual, there's a lot of Republicans who are not on board with Trump and either sat out the election or directly voted against him. Maybe he's one of them. I don't know. I wouldn't speculate on that. But, well, I suppose if I had to bet, I would say you might be right. But I have no information on that. Is Kingdom of Death Monster thank you very much for the kind comment, by the way. Is Kingdom of Death Monster your favorite campaign game? Yes, I would say at this point for sure. By very virtue that last year was my number 1. Will it be number 1 this year on my list of top 100? I can't tell you. I know what the answer is. I can't tell you. But by virtue of it being my number 1 last year and no other major campaign games coming out this year, yes, it's still my favorite campaign game. What is your most anticipated game of 2017? Ooh, that's a better question. I don't have one. And I'll say that I've been very underwhelmed by the slate of games that are slated to be released, and I'm not really excited about much of anything. I am living in the moment right now. and enjoying what I have. Nick, you have to do more collaborations for your view count, more Rahdo-Nick team-ups. Well, that's okay. Rahdo contacted me that one time for that, and we haven't really been in contact since. I like the guy a lot. Much respect for him, but I think that might have just been a one-and-done thing. But we'll see. You never know. And collaborations are fine. I don't feel a particular need to go above and beyond the Call of Duty. And when in doubt, I always say, what would I naturally do? And I'll just do that. Late to the live Q&A, so I don't know if you've answered this already. Where in the F have you been? I love your approach to your top 100 games. I was on a brief hiatus for some personal issues for the last 2.5 to 3 weeks, and now I'm back. Now, it's really interesting. Some of my favorite channels on YouTube, non-board gaming related, like Red Letter Media, can go weeks at a time without putting out a single video and then put one out and then taking like another week or two off. And no one really bats an eye. Not that I'm comparing myself to Red Letter Media. They have like 250 to 300,000 subscribers, whatever. But in the world of board gaming media, because the bar was set by the Dice Tower and by Rahdo, it is expected that you will put out dozens of videos either a week or every 2 weeks. Like, video every single day, multiple videos every single day. And it's just become expected. And I tried, I guess, in the beginning to keep up with that, to at least put out like 7, 8, 9. I think at my height I was putting out like 6 videos. So 7, 8, 9 is probably an exaggeration, but if you counted like unboxings and Q&As and things like that, I was probably at that number at some point. But it was more like 6 was the average, which was it seemed like. But even then, people were saying you should put out more videos, you should get collaborators, you can put more out. And I wonder why that is. I think, again, the bar was set, and I also think that like this could be a broader statement that I've talked about before, at least briefly. Board gamers are among the most material. And by the way, if you're watching this, I love you, and this does not apply to you. But I do think that many board gamers are amongst the most, not just materialistic in the sense that we got to have as much as you can get. Give me more games. I don't care if I even play them. I just want to put them on the shelf. I don't even care if I open them. I just want more games. Oh, you've got that game? Well, that game looks cool. I want that game. And I think that kind of mentality feeds into the viewing habits for board gaming channels as well. Like, constant stream of information. I need to know about every single game. I want to know. I want the information right away, and I want detailed analyses from 20 different sources, and I need it yesterday. Because I'm going to want to buy more things, and if I don't have the right information, I'm moving on to someone else who can give me the information. And that's life, and I'm not really complaining about it per se, but I guess what I'm complaining about is just that has become expected. This is just what the channel is. I was trying for a long time to keep up with that kind of pace, and it just kind of burned me out. And not getting burned out on the hobby, but getting burned out on that kind of schedule when I have to go to work in the morning. So I was getting 3 hours of sleep a night every weeknight, and then binge sleeping on the weekends, and basically killing myself and gaining a lot of weight and all these different types of things. And I just said, why? Like, why? I mean, does it matter? I'll never scoop other people, and what does it really matter in the end anyways? So yeah, this is just what the channel is. I'll do videos when I can. I'll do fun ones that I want to do, and I'll kind of go at my own pace. And my Q&As, that's the one thing I wish I had kept up with, just because my Q&As are super fun. I love interacting with you guys. But everything else, I'll do it when I do it. Let's see. Where am I? What? I don't even... Oh, Ian. It looked like it said Elon. Ian's actually moving out of state within the next year. He's actually... so even though Ian's about the same age as me, he is actually getting his education later in life, and is trying to go for a graduate's degree in, I think, environmental studies. And he's applying to different universities to be in their master's program. And so most of his options are, say, like his main option, like he applied for Berkeley, and he's waiting to hear back and see if he gets approved. But whatever the case might be, I think even his other schools are out of state, which means he'll be moving soon. So even I won't be gaming with him very soon, which is sad. What is your worst gaming experience / story? Oh, I don't know. I haven't had anything that bad. I've played with some really obnoxious people before and just wanted the game to end so that person would get out of my life forever. But I don't have any horror stories like, really bad. Are you getting Gloomhaven? I am. I pre-ordered my own copy. I didn't back on Kickstarter. Nick, your most anticipated game is the Kingdom Death Monster reprint version 1.5. I wasn't really counting that because, again, especially since I already have the core game, I'm just getting upgraded stuff. It just feels like I'm backing a bunch of expansions, which I guess you could count that. But now, if I didn't have the copy of the game but knew it was awesome, like a lot of people backing the game are right now who are just coming into the Kingdom Death world, for sure it would be my number one. Have you looked at the Kickstarter for the Untold Legends card game? No, I'll have to check that out. What is... I think I'm caught up. Am I finally caught up? Good, I can end. As much as I love this, I am a little exhausted and have work to do. What is worse, maybe, is that not only did Trump win, but all the lower elections or enough went to Republicans as well as giving them so much control. It hurts. Yeah, we will live in a completely different country in 4 years, which is really interesting because... one of the big crybaby things you've heard from Republican media in the last 8 years is that Barack Obama is fundamentally transforming America. I guess he didn't do it enough since we still have so many problems with, cops shooting unarmed black men over and over again and women's right to choose being still being trampled on. So I guess he didn't change it as much as we would have hoped, huh? But now they're going to really transform everything in the country away from the will of the people. And yeah, if only the majority of voters had voted for the other candidate. Oh, wait a minute. And in any event, I think we're going to end on... Where are we at? Thank you very much, Charles. I appreciate your comments. My wrist is actually... I don't care if it's a masturbation reference or not. My wrist is mostly healed, although every now and then, even like when I do this, it feels tender. So supple. So I know it's still messed up in a way, but thankfully it hasn't been like a constant issue. And we will end here. Any suggestion for a couple with who the girlfriend would be brand new to gaming? Sure. You want to start with introductory games. One thing I always tell people is it doesn't matter if you think your significant other or the friend that you're introducing games to, it doesn't matter if you think they're the smartest super genius in the world. If they are not familiar with tabletop games, it's going to be difficult for them to wrap their head around it, even if they're used to like video games per se, because it's putting your head into a different mode of thinking. So no matter what, you want to start off easy, and so you want to go for later games like I'm just going to pick games that I know and like and that I have in my collection, but you can find analogs amongst your own collection. But Takenoko, Tokaido, Love Letter, Lost Cities, other really simple deck building games. If you are a fan of deck building games, you want to make sure it's something you enjoy. Obviously, that should go without saying because you need to be into it. People that you try to teach games to, it doesn't matter if you're a significant other or not, they're going to feed off of your passion for whatever it is. So you need to make sure it's something you're excited about. And so like the DC Deck Builder or Dominion or whatever the case might be. Patricia even said it too. Make sure it's a theme that person would like and make sure that you really like it as well. Like one time someone said, you should play, I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was Carcassonne. I don't know. And they said, that's a good game. You should get that just to have in your collection. But I'm only like, do you really think that the person that I'm teaching that to wants to see me miserable Teaching it. Be passionate about it. Make sure it's an introductory level game, and then ease them into more complicated stuff. Again, I don't care if you or your friend's girlfriend is a super genius. Everyone has problems putting their brain into a different space and thinking about different spatial elements in a new and unique way, especially if their only point of reference is either video games or Monopoly. But anyways, okay, I'll address this. Mythic Battles was my favorite Kickstarter because they talk to us all the time in the videos. What do you think about others doing this? I think it's a fantastic idea. And by the way, I have no interest in the content of Mythic Battles. I don't know anything about what the project creators did, and it sounds like they did a great job with it. It made a ton of money. So, sure, that's a great idea. And Adam Poots, as Charles says later on in the comments, is he updates every day, and he also has like little interactions with the audience. That's the best thing to do. I dislike when a company has what I call fake communication. Fake communication is putting out 5 updates a day, but they're just like, here's a new piece of art for our game, and here is some lore from the game. That's fine, but if you're not actually interacting with the audience in any kind of meaningful way, and asking for feedback and all these different types, having a conversation, then I find those updates to be mostly useless, because that's just stuff you can put on the front page anyways. Even if it's one update a day or one every few days, if you're actually meaningfully speaking to the audience and telling them why you should give them your money, that is the best way to run a Kickstarter. Alright, so we're going to end it there, folks. I am way over time anyways, but thank you so much for those of you. We didn't get too many people watching. Totally understandable. It's fine. But for those of you who were here, thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. I will have more top 100 videos later this week, and I will have at least one review later this week as well. So, and then another Q&A on Saturday. So, thank you so much from me to you. If I don't see you or talk to you again, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever the case might be. Take care. And I awkwardly look for the button, and oh, look, there it is. Ah.